After watching this video, you are going to be Googling a couple different ingredients because today we are talking about why most acne and wrinkle products actually damage your skin barrier. We're going to talk about some of the things that the beauty industry doesn't want their customers to know. I'm breaking out. I want the world to know. Gonna let it show. Yes, I have acne, and as you know, my skin barrier was damaged. I kind of got it back into a healthy place, but I started using a couple more acids, trying to go a little bit lighter on my skin, but as I was doing so, I was feeling a little bit of irritation. And I was having this discussion with our Discord Beautiful Butterflies, just speaking about how hard it is to know if your skin barrier is intact, and then how to treat things like acne or wrinkles if you have sensitive skin. And again, this is something that most of the industry doesn't want you to know, because if we knew that the products that are helping us treat our acne and wrinkles are causing damage to our skin barrier, we wouldn't want to use them, right? Now, there is a way to make these things work together to treat acne and wrinkles without horrifically permanently damaging your skin barrier. But before we talk about that, we have to understand what the skin barrier is. So here's a beautiful little diagram of your skin.
Wow.
And as you can see, we have the epidermis, this set of layers here on the top, the dermis and the hypodermis. We also have structures inside, like the pilosebaceous unit where the hair follicle comes out, and the little erector pili muscle that actually helps these little hairs stand on end when we have goosebumps. We have sudoriferous glands that secrete sweat, and a whole bunch of other structures and nerves, and melanocytes, keratinocytes, etc. Now, the squished up keratinocytes are the ones that make their way from this little layer right here, the stratum basale or the stratum basal layer, and they get pushed up to the top. Now, the top layer of skin, what you can see on my face and yours in the mirror, is the stratum corneum. This, along with the acid mantle, makes up our skin barrier. Now, we know that our skin is our body's largest organ. We know that it helps to create literally a barrier between us, the inside world, and the actual world, the outside world. The skin stops pathogens, bacteria, microbes, all sorts of things from getting inside of our body and causing damage. It also protects us against the sun. It helps us thermoregulate. So for example, we can feel heat and cold. We can sense pain and touch. The skin is such a beautiful thing. But what allows us to do that is this beautiful amalgamation of these different structures, these different cells, and how they work together. And that very top layer that does slough off on its own is the stratum corneum, and it's constantly being renewed. Now, what is the acid mantle? The acid mantle is like a layer of oil and fatty acids and cholesterol that sits on top of the skin. And this acid mantle is kind of like our skin's lubrication and transportation system in a way. It can transport antioxidants and fatty acids, and it gives us a little bit of that grease, but it also helps to waterproof our skin so that it doesn't become dry and brittle. Now, the skin barrier also relates to things like filaggrin and your collagen, and obviously if you have something like eczema or psoriasis, or if you have deep fissures or wounds in the skin, your barrier could also be damaged. But for the purpose of this video, in talking about acne and wrinkles, we're going to speak about that top layer and this acid mantle. Now, what happens when we do have acne or wrinkles? As we know, the Cutibacterium acnes or Propionibacterium acnes is the bacteria that causes acne, and it naturally lives inside of our skin. Now, unfortunately, if this oil secretes a little too much, if the acne bacteria grows too much, and if it gets stuck in here, that's when problems start to arise. Literally arise in the form of a whitehead or a pimple. Now, what do we normally do to treat acne? There are many different things, and with a dermatologist, of course, there are prescriptions, but over the counter, it's usually things like exfoliating acids, something like a salicylic acid that is oil soluble, meaning it will actually break down the oil of that acid mantle layer and penetrate itself deep into the skin and into the pore where it can help out with some of that bacteria. Now, while that is excellent and very good for acne, this is, in a way, penetrating through the skin barrier, damaging the skin barrier, dissolving in parts of that acid mantle and that oily layer just to get into our skin, because remember, our skin wants to keep things out. And what if you weren't using something like salicylic acid? What if you wanted benzoyl peroxide? That stuff is really oxidizing. It's really potent. If you've ever used it, you know it can cause dryness and irritation. Again, it's great for acne because it literally kills bacteria by putting oxygen in here. The acne bacteria is anaerobic, so no oxygen. So giving it oxygen basically kills it. But unfortunately, it can also kind of burn and irritate the outside of the skin, and yes, damage the skin barrier. Now, on top of that, we know that retinoids are amazing. They are fantastic. They actually penetrate in and they actually bind to certain receptors, the RAR and RXR receptors, and they actually cause the skin right over here to proliferate more. They say, make new skin quicker. Now, that actually thins out the stratum corneum, but it increases the thickness of some of these deeper layers of the skin. The problem, again, is that if you've ever used a retinoid, especially if it's a prescription one, you know that you go through a period of retinization, kind of like this mild irritation, peeling and flaking, that is literal damage to the skin barrier, especially if you're feeling dry. You're causing this micro damage, that is helping the acne, but in a way it is temporarily damaging your skin barrier. And then if we talk about more intense things, if we talk about microneedling, if we talk about chemical peels, any of these ablative things, like even lasers, all of these things literally work by damaging the skin so that your body can send certain cells, immune cells, to this area to actually heal it up, to bring in nutrients, to create more collagen. And a lot of people don't realize that. They're like, why would you go in and shove needles in your face? And why would you like shoot yourself with a laser? Or even if they're okay with that, a lot of people who aren't skintellectuals and aren't subscribed, they don't know why. They're like, oh, I know lasers work for acne, but like, wait, why am I shooting a laser at my skin and damaging it? And how does that damage cause a benefit? And that's why you shouldn't take NSAIDs. You shouldn't take anti-inflammatories after doing something like a medical microneedling or like a laser. And it's because you actually want that inflammatory response to do something. But that's very counterintuitive to when we think about a skin barrier, because we want that skin barrier to be strong and intact, right? Well, the answer is yes, we definitely do. But sometimes in order to get acne ingredients in where we need to go or to stimulate collagen, we do have to penetrate through that barrier. And speaking of collagen, let's talk about wrinkles. What is a wrinkle exactly? Well, there are many things that contribute to wrinkles, including the sun, which is number one. As you know, those UVB rays can penetrate pretty deep. They can actually cause damage in this area and they degrade collagen. Not to mention they can also cause cancer. UVA as well. It really penetrates deeper than UVB and it degrades the collagen in here. On top of that, the wrinkles are literally from emoting and moving our face. Every time we smile, every time we laugh, every time we frown, as we emote, we create these wrinkles. And over time, over repeated use, that's how a wrinkle sets in. Think of all of these structures kind of folding like a piece of paper. If you fold a piece of paper over and over and over and then try to smooth it out, you'll never be able to get rid of that crease, right? In a way, that's essentially what a wrinkle is. And again, wrinkles are natural. They make us look like humans. Wrinkles are not a bad thing, and I hate that the industry demonizes them. But if someone wants to work on them or make their wrinkles look less apparent, there are different ways to do that. For example, we spoke about some invasive treatments such as medical microneedling, chemical peels especially. There are certain LED treatments, specifically around the 660 nanometer range. The red LED can actually help with collagen production. Lasers as well that damage the skin to create more collagen. And with wrinkles, we're really trying to kind of smooth out that divot, smooth out that crease. And that's why it can be hard. And that's why some of the best things you can do for wrinkles are things like a literal facelift, right? Because you're actually pulling the skin and you're taking that wrinkle and basically saying you can't form anymore. Or Botox. That's why a lot of people get Botox. Botox is more preventative because if it stops you from furrowing your forehead or doing something, you cannot contract those muscles. Therefore, the skin, aka all of this on top of those muscles, cannot wrinkle and cannot crease. And that's why Botox is a really good option, or any neuromodulator is a good option for some people. We already spoke about retinoids for acne. Same thing in here. It can help with wrinkles and collagen production, but because of that, it can actually damage the skin's barrier. And even chemical peels. They're amazing to help exfoliate the top layers of the skin, reveal a glowy, fresh appearance, and to help smooth out wrinkles. But a lot of times that is actually causing this damage. Now, what are we supposed to do? If we're causing damage to our skin, we don't want to damage skin barrier, but we do want to treat our acne and wrinkles. What's the supposed to do? Well, the answer is to keep using those actives. Don't give up on retinoids or chemical peels, etc. But be aware of how much damage you're causing to your skin barrier and balance it out. This is why people say, don't exfoliate every day, because we don't want to overdo it. This is also why things like sunscreen are so important. Sunscreen not only prevents this collagen from degrading in the first place, but it also prevents acne scars from setting in, and it helps to strengthen our skin's barrier by fighting against the sun. There are also things like pollution that can damage our skin's barrier, and many things outside of products that do that. But specifically when it comes to acne and wrinkle products, what are we supposed to do? Again, don't stop using them, but be aware of them. Give your skin some time in between to kind of fight back. And our skin naturally regulates itself unless there's a problem, right? Unless you have an issue, a skin issue. Our skin is really good at taking care of us and protecting us, right? But if we're using certain things on our skin and we're causing damage to that skin barrier, while we're using those exfoliating acids or those wrinkle treatments, we might want to give it a helping hand, which is why why something like a barrier cream comes in handy. We spoke about the stratum corneum, which is made up of those keratinocytes and ceramides, but we also spoke about this acid mantle, these fatty acids, these antioxidants, these omega fats. So if we want to strengthen our skin's barrier, what can we do? We can actually use moisturizers, hydrators, humectants, protectants to go on the outside of our skin that actually help to strengthen our skin barrier on top of some of those exfoliating or anti-wrinkle treatments, or on the days that we're not using them. Now here's this list of ingredients that most people are going to end up searching in the little YouTube bar, specifically ceramides. Our skin creates them naturally, and they're an essential part of a healthy skin barrier. If your skin barrier is damaged, or if you are fighting acne and wrinkles, your skin might need a helping hand, and adding ceramides, NP, EOP, AP, all of those are super helpful. Here's some of my favorite ceramide products, and we have a video on that as well, but these can actually help to strengthen that barrier. On top of that, things like fatty acids, we're talking omegas, cholesterol, squalene, and squalene. Some of these are made naturally by the skin, and you can find these in a lot of different places. But some of these oils or these fatty acids actually help to rebuild that acid mantle, that lipid barrier, so that our skin can stay waterproofed in a way and fight against the outside world. This also locks in your treatments, and it gives it a little bit of a barrier so that it can transport things like antioxidants. And that's also something you're going to want to look into to help with a damaged skin barrier. Antioxidants are amazing. They're anti-aging. They help fight against free radical production. And our skin knows and loves them. Using things like green tea or black tea or caffeine, using certain things that aren't overly irritating, like vitamin C could technically be an antioxidant, but it can be really irritating. So using gentle ones can be phenomenal. And as long as there isn't a high concentration of fragrances or something that irritates your skin, antioxidants can also help strengthen this skin barrier. Now there are things outside of these, such as petrolatum jelly, such as humectants and hydrators. We've spoken about those in other videos. Things like petrolatum or petroleum are something that our skin does not naturally create, but they're still amazing for a skin barrier. And there are other things like humectants and hydrators that are fantastic for our faces. Hyaluronic acid is one that our body makes, but that's also really great. And then something like shea butter, our body doesn't make it, but our skin does love it. And we've actually done a video talking about how to strengthen the skin barrier and what you can look for. But if you're looking for what your skin already makes to kind of give it a helping hand as you're treating acne or wrinkles, remember to, in the words of Dr. Alexis Steffens, start low, take it slow, and then, in my opinion, add some of these extras. Again, the things that you can search for right now are ceramides, fatty acids, whether it's omega, squalene, squalene, etc., and antioxidants. And at the same time, don't forget to stay hydrated. Don't forget to reapply that SPF. And don't forget to be beautiful both inside and out. I love you, and I cannot wait to see you in the next videos where we talk about those ingredients right there. Love you guys. Bye.